Welcome to today's episode of I'm Fine But. Now, I'm going to let this next guest introduce herself because she's absolutely fantastic. If you're watching it on YouTube, you're going to see how colourful she is. So please introduce yourself to our listeners.
Oh, this is always a funny bit, isn't it? How to summarize yourself in like one line. I'm an expert in, well, sales. I tend to help people make a lot of sales. That's why people come to me. I live in Snowdonia in North Wales with my two kids, my husband. We've got sheep. And I tend to like joke I've got one foot in a stiletto and one foot in a welly because I've got this like really epic, like wonderful brand and this business. So we do all sorts in the business. We do events, we do retreats, we do networking. I've got my sales masterminds. And then I come home and then it's just kids and chickens and chaos. So that's me in a nutshell, basically. Double line.
Well, that's the best way to be, isn't it? You might as well have the glitter on one hand and then the muddy boots on the other.
That's basically my life, yeah.
So, talk to me about this business because where did you start out your career?
So I had a travel business. That was my first business, a travel franchise business. And in the pandemic, like 2020 was awful because there was global travel bans and all the flights were grounded and all the hotels across the world were closed. And it was one of those industries that it was just flawed for the time. So at the end of 2020, I went to my network. Networked a lot for that business and done really well with it. I went to my network. I was like, I can't sell travel, but I can help you sell your thing. And then in 2021, that's what I set off to do because they were like, yes, I want your help. I want your help. I want your help. And it has not stopped since for the past 5 years. This idea has turned into a really, really comprehensive business that helps hundreds and thousands of small business owners, ambitious, growth focused, talented business owners to really monetize their expertise. And I think, you know, it really came from that place of like, I can't sell my thing, I can't sell travel, but I can help you sell yours. And that, do you know what, when it was, I can remember it just like that. I dropped the kids off at preschool and I was driving past M&S and I was like, oh my God, I'll be a sales mentor. And like 90 seconds later, I was home, like cooking up these massive plans. And actually, it's kind of worked, which is it's kind of
It's
crazy.
kind of worked. It's definitely working. You're doing it. You're smashing it. So this is a thing that I
Yeah.
speak about to so many people. Like if they were inquiring, sort of, for example, with us on like a franchise, or if we've got friends asking about business, and so many parts of it, I'm like, you can be so passionate about something, but you do have to know how to sell. Like if you're not selling, you don't really have a business, do you?
No, not at all. There's no business without sales, There's no service without sales. The to make sales is your doorway into doing the great work that you want to do.
Yeah.
And it's an absolutely vital, essential. And actually, do you know what? When you do it well, selling well is really enjoyable. It's really comfortable. It's very natural. It's when people have, if they're telling themselves, I hate sales, I'm not a salesperson, selling is icky, then it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, to be fair. And you have to match your expertise. If you're a business owner, you have to match your expertise with a really robust sales strategy. Otherwise, you're just going to you'll be frustrated and doing nothing for ages.
Yeah.
And actually, with a great sales strategy, you can do great things quickly
Yeah.
and really make that impact with your work. So I'm very passionate about helping people to get on board with comfortable, repeatable sales strategies, and the people who want to do well can do well.
Yeah. And I think there's also this preconceived idea around sales, exactly like you said, because I remember that phrase that you just said. I've heard myself say that before. So when I first started, I'd be like, I'm not
Mm.
good at sales. I'm not a salesperson. It's not for me. But that comes with a preconceived idea that you are almost, and for me, I have the visualization of the really pushy car salesperson that, is
Mm.
the the first thing that comes into mind, that you're almost forced into this position where you have to buy and you feel really uncomfortable
Yeah.
in it. But I
Oh
think,
yeah, that's a horrible way to sell.
yeah, and I think the more I learn about sales and the more I learn about actually listening to my customers and more about like the customer journey, the more
Mm.
I was like, actually, sales isn't hard. It's not an icky thing. It's just working out the right strategy that works with your business and your customer.
Yeah, and for your personality type as well, I think,
Ah, yeah.
we've got to find a way that is sustainable for the seller to sell. Like some people are really good at launching. Some people are like, I just want evergreen. Some people are really good at networking in person. Some people want to sell like automated from social media to low cost, like I don't know, whatever. Some people sell to corporates and will pitch, others will bid. Like there's so many different ways to make sales, but you have to know what you sell and then you have to know how to sell it. And those 2 points is like easy in principle and difficult in practice when you just don't know how, because people don't realize that there's so many ways to navigate these conversations and to navigate your strategy. So it suits you as a person, not every way is going to fit you. And so we just forget that and
Yeah.
just focus on what works for
And I
you.
think that's because you do see so many, like, especially, when I'd started, that it would be like, buy this bundle of sales strategy and, this like
Mm,
online course, which, maybe has its place in some businesses. But I remember thinking, but that doesn't work for me. Like, I know this on
no.
paper seems like it would work, but I'm struggling to work out how to implement this. And you just touched on then
Yeah.
about personality types. So how do you differentiate the different personalities to how they're going to sell?
Do you know what? I don't know if I do it so organized as that. But basically, every single business needs these four parts, right? They need to have a client attraction system. They need to grow an audience and attract clients. Then they need to convert the leads. Then they need to deliver on what's been sold. And then they need to retain their customers. So attract, convert, deliver, retain,
Mm-hmm.
repeat. And so the way I would say is like freebies, free like cheap bundles. This is what they're going to say. Like that's it. But like I've just said, it's easy in principle and difficult in practice to find like your way. Like how are you going to attract clients? How are you specifically going to convert? What are you specifically going to deliver? And how are you going to retain? And I think this is when you know there's a lot of AI now. You could look this stuff up and it'll still be generic.
Mm-hmm.
It's still going to just spit out all these ideas at you. You still need like a human mentor, a human to help you to actually guide you to make these high level decisions because they're really, really high level
Yeah.
decisions. I'm working with people who are making sales of about 10,000, 20,000. Like the microscopic decisions you're making inside of these conversations, like they're significant if you're selling that like multiple times a year.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, it's not to do necessarily with personality. It's about finding a bespoke strategy that fits you and your ideal client and like delivers the solution, right? So it has to come together really cohesively.
Yeah. And I think anything, and maybe I'm a little bit like AI phobe at the moment. I'm like, I don't hate AI. Like, I think it's got its place and I think we can learn to use it to help automate things. But I really don't want it to replace so much of the human element of things because, especially with sales as well, so much about
Yeah.
it is the human connection. And it,
Mm.
I just, yeah, I don't know about you, but as soon as I see like an AI written thing, I'm like, oh, red flag.
Yeah, you just turn off, right? You're just not interested. And I think like I've just been just before this call, one of the bonuses for my mastermind was I'll audit your sales page. And I've just audited quite a lot of sales page. And oh, I'm like, this, you wouldn't say this. Like, get rid of like, this is not, this is not, this is not. I'm like, okay, tell me what it is.
Yeah.
You stop saying like quietly matters. Like, there's so many tells in AI
Mm-hmm.
copy, and you want to hear the accent and the voice of who's speaking. Like, I really love reading a sales page or content, and I can hear the voice
Yeah.
like reading to me in my head, and I think that's what AI is robbing
Mm-hmm.
people of, and we don't want that. But it is a great tool. Don't get me wrong. Like we use AI, but we don't use AI to take out what should be left as a
Yeah,
human.
the human part of it. So you've built this hugely successful business over the last 5, 6 years, and you've got 2 children, and you're
Yeah,
also doing a huge renovation project as well in your.
slowly. Yeah,
Yeah, it's a huge
yeah, very
project
very
though that
slowly.
you're tapping your
Yeah.
way through. How have you found
Mm.
balancing that? How have you found building this thing up? Because it has been from scratch. You've built it to
Yeah.
where it is, and also raising children and also renovating as well.
Yeah, and relocating. So when we started, my husband had a full-time job. He was an engineer, and I was full-time parenting with like just a few hours a day to build my business. We got to a point where my business was out earning his salary and his potential salary, and we decided then to be like, oh, let's change
Yeah.
places. Like I'll focus on my work and you focus more on the children. And in that decision, we left Bedford and we moved to North Wales. And yeah, we've got this like 10-acre place. We've got the house, and then there's crumbly barns outside, and and then the kids and the chickens and the dog, and it can feel quite like, whoa, we have definitely bitten off more than we can chew. But that's life, isn't it?
Yeah.
I actually think that it takes just as much effort to hold back
Hmm.
and clip your own wings and to not go for it. I actually think that that would be harder for me than to have the feeling of like, oh, look where we are. It's beautiful here. It's absolutely gorgeous. Um, and yeah, there are days where I'm just like, oh my God, there's it's all going on, but that's life. Like, I just don't think that you'd be able to avoid those, like, that chaotic moment, like whatever, like parents, like even if I was at home with the children all day, I'd still find chaos. So I'm like, well, I may as well just build my business inside of that anyway. And really fortunately for me now, Rick, my husband, he he stepped out of his own career, and he does a lot of the like house stuff
Okay.
behind the scenes here, and is now also completely integrated into my business. So I've got a lot of support at home, in terms of him, like, really being, every time I need to travel for work, it's a yes, because I've got the childcare, and I know that is an enormous luxury. If me and him want to go away without the children, though, that's game over. We go away for like one night every year if we're lucky, and that was actually to one of my business events. So but inside of our family unit, he does a huge amount, so I can really focus on work. And sometimes that's really hard. Sometimes he's like, we want to be able to um take time out of a business, but scaling is it takes a lot of energy. It's not infinity pool life,
Hmm.
where you're like, oh, it just takes me 3 hours a day. Like, no, it doesn't. It takes a lot of stamina. Um, but
Yeah.
it's coming together, and it's getting easier with time as well. It's definitely getting easier with time. That startup phase. I used to say I wouldn't wish startup on anybody because it's brutal. The amount of self-belief that you have to have when there's no proof in the pudding. I'm like, how did I do that? You know? Um, but now when I have a crazy idea,
Yeah, I think startup whatever is crazy. Like, even with,
it's hard,
we
yeah.
find that when we're launching like new franchise areas, it's still the same. It's still the same, even though you know that the model works, even that you've got proof in the pudding, that this is going to work, but actually so much of it is relying on the person, and actually having that mindset, like you've just said, of going through the mind monkeys and going through the, can I actually do this?
Yeah. I mean, what we're doing is hard, and I think people think that, oh, it shouldn't be this hard, and I'm like, no, it should be. Just because it's hard it's not any reflection of failure,
Hmm.
isn't it? Doesn't mean that at all.
Yeah.
Just because to turn your ideas, which is basically just nothing, right? Like, there's nothing you can hold. It's just your idea, and then you turn it into something tangible, real, that you can see, touch. It's like that is hard, to so. but it's worth it. And with the right strategy, you can do absolutely incredible things in business. And I think um, business can be a lot of fun. And I think people forget that as well. Like it's such a playground
Yeah.
for being really creative, and we're practicing in real time, right? We're just experimenting basically every day with our ideas, feeling out for what works, replicating and refining as we go, and with that courage to just try. I think that's like any takeaway from this to you to the listeners. Like I'm like, just that courage can take you really far, so long as you're pursuing the strategy that will enable it. And yeah, I just absolutely love seeing what people do with their ideas, their creativity, their courage, and their expertise. It's like a cocktail for like all sorts of businesses that are coming up, like what alongside us, right? We're just seeing people do amazing things every day, and it's great.
Yeah, and it is about being creative. And I think even when it gets heavy and it gets hard, it's going back to those core values that you started the business with. Why did you start it? And going, actually, it
Mm.
was really fun. It was a fun idea that I wanted to get going. And, usually that is what gets us going, and that's what keeps us going through, the harder parts. So if we have got somebody who's listening who is either in the early stages of business or they're just thinking about starting a business, is there any bit of advice? I know you've just said about courage, but is there anything that you wish that you would have known before you'd started?
I think it's just to remember that, like every single successful person that you see started in that moment where they're like, "Huh, I think I'll start a business,"
Yeah.
you know. And it's just it's as almost as unsignificant as that. You're just like, "Oh right, so I'm going to start a business."
Yeah.
And then the next day, you've started a business, and there's not much of a distinguishing line until you've made your first few sales.
Mm-hmm.
That is a real, like, you have to focus on the sales. So if anybody's listening, and to be fair, this advice goes out to established business owners as well. Like, just know what you're selling and know how to sell it. If you have those two sides of the coin, you're gonna be you can you know make your corporate salary back. You can make more money, more revenue, make, like, do great fulfilling work. But it starts there. Just know what you're selling and know how to sell it, and that's basically business. But people get overcomplicate it all the time because they're like, is there more to it? And I'm like, not really.
Yeah, and I see that so much, to make it as complicated as possible. And we were looking at this the other day about offers, and I was saying that, but the more confusing you are making this offer, the harder it is for somebody to make that decision on the on the on the sale.
Yeah.
I was like, we as
Mm.
humans, we remember the stories, we remember the fun parts and the songs, and we remember things that are actually quite elementarily, that's not a word, elementarily, um quite simplistic, really. The simpler it is, the more we're going to remember it.
Yeah, it is. And, like, just own your outcome. That's what you're selling. Do you know what is the outcome of your work? If you can articulate the outcome of your work, and like a 10-year-old would understand, then you're onto something. Onto something. Like I said, I've just been reviewing all these sales pages, and I'm like, yeah, but what is it, and what is it for? And people are using really clever language and complicated ways to say something so simple that actually it gets lost in translation. So keep it simple. Like the outcome people come to me is, I help you make more sales, more comfortably, more often. That's it.
Yeah.
And then underneath that is actually what we do. But the outcome is always the same: more sales, more comfortably, more often. And if you can just really identify your outcome, create offers that deliver that outcome, and then find people who want that outcome, then that is the beginning of a great business proposition, frankly.
Yeah, and I love the fact of saying, if a 10-year-old can understand it, I've got a 9-year-old, I'm going to be passing everything to her, and I'll be like, does this make sense to you? What am I selling? Just you check it over. And I think that's such a great way to think about it, just to really simplify it so people actually understand what they're buying. So if people want to
Yeah.
find you, where can they find you online?
So do you know what? I think you're going to be the first. I don't know when this is going to go out, but we are literally just on the doorstep of launching our own podcast and YouTube. I know, literally, I'm not even sure what I'm supposed to be saying at this point, but yeah, on the 21st of May, we are having a. Can I swear? Did you say I
can
could
go
swear?
for it.
We're having a fuck it. I'm starting a podcast.
Do you know what? That is exactly what happened to me, and here we are.
Literally, because I was like, so I think everyone should come and listen to my podcast and my YouTube. It's called More Than Sales.
Perfect.
More Than Sales with Enfys, and we are going to cover. Well, everything I do is about strategy, stamina, and like turning ideas into great businesses. But we've got loads of events. I've got Vibrant Connections online networking. People come and visit. We've got all sorts of events coming up. In fact, Rose, you should come.
I know.
You should come.
You did message me the other day and said, "Are you coming?" And I don't think I actually replied. So I honestly, my diary is so full of like weekends, and I'm like,
it's mental.
How much can I get away having 3 kids and going to all these events? So if they want to find you on Instagram, where can they find you?
Instagram is Sales Training with Enfys.
So if you want to go across and find them, you can just scroll down the bottom and you'll be able to click them there and connect. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. You have been an absolute blast to talk to. I wish you all the best with the podcast, and I can't wait to hear it.
I know. Well, I've been too scared to listen to it. It's so funny. I've got my team to listen to it. I've been too scared to listen to it. But this is how it is, isn't it? Like it's scary to put something new into the world. Yeah. And I don't think that feeling ever goes away, really. So anyway, I'm going to have this podcast.
Yes.
Who knows what's coming?
You don't need to listen to it back. It's really hard to listen to your own voice back, and it's a talent you've got to really just try and be like, okay. And there is some research into why humans don't like it, because when we talk, it reverberates back different to us in our head. So there is actually some science about why we don't like listening to our own voice. I think the more you do it, especially when you've got to edit it, the better you get at it.
Yeah, I could listen to anything else, but the podcast, it was quite a big deal. So come and listen to it, come and support it. It's going to grow and grow and grow, even though currently we've got 2 subscribers, which is amazing, and one is me and one is my husband. So come and be. Nice one. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Bye. You've just listened to I'm Fine But. If you're unsure about business or what really matters to you right now, why not take our free Core Values course? It's linked in the show notes and it's a brilliant place to begin. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode, and you can follow us online at all your favourite social media platforms at BabyBeats UK. Until next time, I'm Rose and I'm fine. But honestly, we're all just figuring it out.